this computer. All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. This is Hui from the Cash Flow Addict Show. I believe that cash flow is a good addition. And today I'm super excited, to chat with one of my good friend, actually property manager, Jerry. You can tell people a lot about a little bit about property management stuff as well. But today, really, Jerry, I want to bring you back in here into the podcast because you actually went to Real for a short period of time. So I really want to, use the information, use the knowledge that you have, and I want to, make a really, unbiased comparison between, the two brokerage. I believe that there's a pros and cons in everything, right? There's going to be some good thing at Real. There's going to be some good thing at eXp, and the same thing. There's going to be something at eXp that maybe Real is better at. So I want to give, all the audience a really unbiased, comparison between the two brokerage, and you could not be better because you actually went to Real. You understand how, the Real brokerage work. So
yeah,
sounds good. But first of all, before that, Jerry, who are you? Can you tell us a little bit about your life, your business? Yeah, what do you even do for fun? You look so serious.
Let's see what I do for fun. I consider myself like a recluse agent. I don't really get into too many conversations with a lot of people.
I can tell.
I spend a lot of time. I've been finding ways to streamline everything I do to where, I work less and I spend time, taking my kids to places. I have, both my kids are, one's in Taekwondo, the other one's in Jiu-Jitsu.
What about soccer?
Not soccer anymore.
All right.
I'm trying to increase their physicality a little bit. I cook a lot. I cook a lot. I think I showed you before. Did a little bit of bird watching.
I saw
also.
That. Interesting. Bird watching. Oh, everything else. Bird watching is your hobby. I cannot.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of interesting birds in my neighborhood, so I actually get red birds. We even saved the blue jay before. He actually flew right into my window, passed out, and then we took him to the SCPA where they take wild animals. Designing my backyard, I think you saw that a little bit. So I put a lot of time and effort into that, just remodeling work, just really kind of hanging in my backyard, cooking, watching birds, just listening to music. Is really what I do, and finding ways to as you know, I've actually been to Vegas 3 times this year. I think one time I went, but I've been to Vegas 3 times for 3 different conferences. I think there's a point in time right now where the market has shifting at the same time. So I go to these conferences to really get different perspectives and get how the market's moving in certain situations, right? So, I'd say one of the big things that I actually made it up myself, right? Was that the gist of it was that you can't fight the market.
Oh, absolutely agree, 100%.
So, if you actually listen to financial news a lot, you always hear you can't fight the Fed because the Fed's gonna do what the Feds do. And in real estate, you can't fight the market. The market is what it is, and just because, meaning you put in more money towards a declining market, you may just lose the money.
I know. Yeah, and then never catch the line. The knife when it's falling, they say.
Yeah, so you have to adjust your business in such a way that you need to adjust your lifestyle and even your business in order to match the market.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of changes coming.
Wow. Well, I didn't expect this, but Jerry, you mentioned so many good things that I do want to reiterate, to the audience. So number one, you say streamline the business, right? You're probably one of the agent that I say have one of the best system. It doesn't involve, like you say, it doesn't involve you work the system, right? But rather you build a system. And then to be honest with you, I really enjoy having you manage my property. One of the reason, it's just guy, right? We're not very chatty. So
Mhm.
a system that you build, my God, I don't even have to talk to a lot of people, right? Especially your staff. But man, every day on the 10th, the rent get paid. If there's a problem, your staff is taking care of it. And I was like, this is what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for really passive income. And one of your
Yeah.
property, one of your company, Property Care, they deliver that. So kudos to you to build an amazing system that actually, sometimes it makes me forget I have a rental, right? Because the money keep coming in.
Right.
So kudos to that. Your system is one of the best I see so far.
And I think one of the big things that we always work on is that, for every question that we get via email or phone calls, we find a way like, hey, can we get this information out before they ask us? So for example, I think, you've been with me for so long that, now you get the lease renewals in an email every time there's a new lease renewal.
Oh man.
Like there's certain little things where like, hey, you don't have to ask for the lease in here. It's in your portal, but it's also you get an email for every lease renewal, every lease that's signed, and it's automated in such a way that you just that information is readily available made to you without you ever having to ask for it.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. I didn't even know that. Damn, I need to go back to the portal. Okay, good stuff. Okay, well, so yeah, one thing I do want, you just mentioned so many good stuff that I want to like, catch on before, we're moving on. You mentioned conference, right? Conferences is so important, and I believe you wearing a hat that have a Tony Robbins side. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm a big
Yeah.
Tony Robbins
Yep.
fan.
Yep. So I would like to iterate that, for those that is listening, if you haven't been to any real estate conference, pick the one that fit your philosophy, your personal investment philosophy, and then go, right? For example, Tony, me and Jerry, we're a big fan of Tony Robbins, and every single time Jerry go to Tony Robbins, he spent, a ton of money to go to this event, and when he come back, he make 10 times that money, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like my
I
most
mean,
recent Tony Robbins was a health conference.
mhm.
And what people don't know is that I've been through a lot of health issues, and even considering like surgery, gastrointestinal surgery,
Wow.
I've gotten away from that. I mean, so there's a cost to doing everything and not doing something. So
Wow.
something to consider.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're definitely gonna come back to all this, topic later. But
Mhm.
very, yeah, let's just jump ahead and go right into the topic actually today. So could you tell me a little bit, from your point of view, the history of real brokerage, and then I'm gonna chime in later with a little bit of history of eXp.
Okay. So as far as Real Broker, I was actually decided to had leave eXp to another brokerage even before Real. And when I end up actually onboarding, what I thought I was getting, I wasn't getting. So then I made a pretty big U-turn right away, created a lot of tension and frustration amongst the group that I had onboarded with.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, to me, this is my life and it's my business. So
Right.
I'm going to do, I suggest everybody to do what's best for them. Like, it's your life, your business. You got to do what's in your best interest.
Absolutely
I
agree.
mean, everyone moves on at some point, one point or another.
Mm-hmm.
But so I decided not to go on with this company, and I was actually didn't have a brokerage at all. So I was kind of like in limbo for a second.
Okay.
And at that point, I think I considered going back to eXp, but I was like, what? I haven't, and I was recruited to this other broker, so I wasn't really looking.
Okay.
Um, so I was like, what else is out there? And I just started, doing a little Google search, and I was like, oh, there's this new brokerage, newer. It wasn't really that new. I want to believe, I don't know the exact history of it, but I
Okay.
want to say that it was started in like 2010, 2012. So it wasn't,
It's still a fairly young brokerage.
yeah, young brokerage, but it wasn't like brand, like it wasn't, just started like last week or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so two things that people don't know is that it was actually, the company had actually already went public on the Toronto Stock Exchange.
Oh yeah, we're
So
gonna
it
chat about
was a
that.
public company in Canada.
Uh-huh.
And then it actually went public on the New York Stock Exchange, or not New York, sorry, the NASDAQ
That's that, yeah.
in 2020, or no, 2020, I can't remember, 2021,
Mm-hmm.
like in July 2021. So, I saw this company and their splits and their fees that all seem reasonable. And I almost say it was literally a copycat to eXp.
Thank you for being honest.
So I was like, there's really not much difference. I think the splits were a little bit better. And, and this was an opportunity, to catch a company that's
Opportunity. I love that.
just just going public on the New York Stock Exchange. And I think one of the things that I joined eXp back in 2017 when the stock was $1.76, something like that.
Yeah.
And then, when I considered the equity, it wasn't a life-changing amount, right? Like whatever you got at the time, it was a nice bonus in addition to what your normal job would be as far as being a realtor. But it didn't seem like a life-changing, compensation, financial incentive or anything, obviously until, we had COVID and the whole stock market kind of went a little retarded, you could say, and everything went skyrocketing. I make this point. I don't know how true it is, and I don't want to be a liar or anything, but I was like, I feel like eXp has probably made more millionaires out of realtors than any other real estate brokerage out there.
Yep. Thank you. Yep.
So I also obviously got some of it, but it wasn't to the extent that some of the other agents got. And so when I saw this company and I saw that they were actually going to go public on the New York Stock Exchange, I was like, hey, maybe this is the same opportunity that eXp provided back when I first joined in 2017. I think it went public like at $1.60 something. So it was a real similar price. Obviously, there's P ratios and stuff like that that's different. So I was like, and the funny story is that I joined and then they were having this celebration in New York for the listing of the stock on the NASDAQ. And I was like, man, I used to go to, it's funny, I used to go to New York on an annual basis because I actually have family in New York. I always went there when I was a little kid. I actually have family that lived in the Bronx. So I would go to New York regularly, and then just kind of annually, there's always something to do in New York. And I hadn't, since COVID and everything, I hadn't not gone to New York. So I think this was a year after COVID. So I took a flight out to New York and partied on top of the NASDAQ stock exchange. It's funny because I'm actually in this picture where they used for their advertisement when I have it on my Facebook page, but I thought it was funny.
I need to find that.
So I'm actually like in their marketing material. I'm still in there, but I actually made some friends and stuff. And another agent, which also left, and we were just joking how we were still in this marketing picture that they had. I actually met the CEO, and it was a really cool experience.
Okay.
Awesome. That I had.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so that's kind of the main reason I enjoy it, is merely just an opportunity. And it was funny. I'll tell you this, like I am all about, I don't want to say I'm an opportunist, because an opportunist, the term actually has a negative connotation where you're willing to exploit anything and everything. But I'm always willing to look at opportunities to grow better, right? Like
the correct word for it is open-minded. How about that?
I'm always open-minded. Like if someone has an offer to me, like if someone, it's funny because like, we just talked about Tony Robbins, for example. And I feel like, a lot of people who own their own business or work on their own, or, I think it would be really good for them to go to Tony Robbins. And the strange thing is that I would say 90% of the time, the first question that is asked of me after I tell them about Tony Robbins is that how much it costs. Instead of like, what do you get out of it? To me, everything is like, oh, what do you get out of it? Like if someone tells me to go to a conference, like, oh, what is it for? Like how could it benefit me in some way? And then I'll evaluate the cost to, what I think I'm gonna get out of it. And then I'll determine whether I should go at that point.
Yeah. I funny, like the same thing, right? You and me, when people, first approaching the eXp model, they don't look at the opportunity, right? All they asking me is how much does it cost? I mean, like, I can tell you the cost, but really, you're missing the whole point, the opportunity for growth, for leadership, for really everything we do here. That's what you should look at, not at the cost, because the cost is very minimal compared to
right. It's funny because like, in 2017, when you asked me to go to this meeting, and I was like, okay, like, I mean, it was only costing my time just a little bit. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Like, let me just hear what this company has. I've never heard of it. Someone I know that, invests in some houses, client of mine is into it, and it could be good, right? Like, so I gave it a shot and I joined. Like, it didn't, it wasn't crazy for me to do, but I always feel like a lot of people are, standoffish in regards to like, oh, what do you think about this? They don't care. They just shut their mind
I
immediately,
know.
which I find very unusual.
Yep. So just wrapping up the point here, so if you are new to the real estate brokerage, of course you're gonna have a lot of the, I would say the dinosaur in the industry, like the Remax, the KW, they have been, in the real estate brokerage space for forever, right? And then you're gonna have this, new young innovative company like eXp, like Real, they have like new technology, they have a lot of, different way for you to, do your business, not the traditional way. So we're gonna talk about that later on. But let's just touch about the training in a little bit. So Jerry, tell us about, the training that you experienced so far at Real. What is it different from eXp that you see?
So in regards to the training, was very interesting. Like I said, I almost feel like Real was almost a carbon copy of eXp because their tech stack was very similar. They use the same transaction management system. They use the same, workplace from Facebook to kind of interact and stuff. So the training, they actually, I want to say they did a pretty good job of training and kind of providing the training. All of it was online.
Okay. That's really good for a new agent, especially with people part-time, they can come and go and take the training, at their own time frame.
Yeah, so the training was good. They actually had weekly training stuff. And I would say, probably the biggest difference between Real and eXp is the community push training, right? Like, other agents training other agents. Because when you're training online, and obviously, right, this is a tech-driven company, it's a national model, right? And real estate is very localized. So you're not getting that localized training or the localized consideration of what needs, that varies from, city to city or locale to locale. So I would say, as far as the training, I think they certainly tried hard to push different training modules, marketing, contracts, forms, and stuff like that. But at the same time, though, I thought what was missing was kind of the localized training amongst, Houston agents or, even Texas agents. I think, with eXp, amongst our different, I guess, teams, I don't know your groups, you could say, like, I think almost every group pushes some kind of training because we're all looking to kind of help each other's business in some way.
Yeah. So you mentioned a really good point. I do want to kind of nail that down in the end of the podcast, but I guess since you already mentioned it, the culture part is just a big part of eXp, and especially when it comes to training, because it's these training, like Jerry said, right? You can go to online, you can go to the cloud. eXp, they have 80 hours of live training, and even the state broker, they conducted training related to the Texas. For example, if you're in Texas, they related, they have training related to the contract in the state of Texas, like 24/7, weekly, if not like daily for you, but this, what Jerry is discussing is the missing of the community, right? Of the culture that the company can bring. And that will take a lot of time to build, especially it take a lot of time to develop a leader in the community, if you will. So I'm very happy that, if you're around Texas, or really, if you're in eXp, you're going to see that almost everywhere in the city, there's going to be a couple leader that put together training, get, rally people together to number one, localize the training, and number two, create this community where, if you new or you experience, you're going to feel very safe and very positive to come into this meeting and basically either learn from each other or offer your knowledge out, right? So, Tony Robbins usually say, you don't try to, think about, what you can, what people can, how do I say this, right? If you can just give out more value, to your community, and then the money will come back automatically. You don't have to think about it. Yeah. So Jerry, thank you so much for mentioning that about the training and the stuff, because I spent a tremendous amount of time, even sacrifice my production to put up this kind of training and environment, for people to come and share and collaborate. So, thank you so much for mentioning that.
Right. And we call it playing the long game, right? Exactly. Like you're kind of playing, you're investing and other people, and eventually it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you, I think I told you the story, but we actually, I would say one of the leaders here for the Real Brokerage in Houston, you know, they were doing a YouTube training.
Yeah.
The person was actually the person that I put, you know, I guess above me on my revenue share. I don't know what you call that. Sponsor. There you go. Sponsor. And, you know, it was meant to be, I guess, a for-profit YouTube training. And this person does really well, I think, on YouTube and just social media and stuff. And she's doing this training, and you know, it was $500. That was the cost of it. So, you know, I had reached out. I'm like, hey, can I like get a free ticket?
Yeah.
And I was not offered a free ticket. I was offered a $50, not 50%, $50 discount.
Okay.
And I decided not to go. And that kind of irked me in a way, because I felt like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but you know, if I have more production as a result of taking what you teach me and applying it, then it, you know, it's going to pay off later for you one way or another.
Yeah.
You know, like to me, like in those situations, I think, you know, the cost is so small to the person organizing the event. You know, we're talking about one ticket, which again, I'm not just somebody, I'm somebody that she benefits directly as a result of me having more production. And that was really the main reason why I put this person as my sponsor, because I noticed that she was someone that had high production and that could certainly be an asset for, you know, stuff, you know, or a resource for somebody that I could learn from, that seems to do real well, and didn't seem like they were too interested in providing, you know, I guess assistance back.
Really yeah. Well, you know, since you know, on this particular topic, you know, I know that you probably noticed that in August, you know, we have this huge bill event, you know, for that we invited Tony Robbins over to speak to eXp agent. So contrary to what you say, Jerry, I actually, you know, look at my whole revenue share group, and we have this thing, it's called a scholarship program, right? So basically all the leader, we chip in the money, and then I will look to my group, you know, I will say, you know, hey, who is actually, you know, qualified for this, you know, scholarship, right? Who is trying really hard, who is struggling at the business, you know, and but then they always willing to learn, right? So we actually spend a tremendous amount of money and time and effort to actually get these people, you know, to go to the bill event, because, you know, we know the importance of, you know, if you can just bring people to the event, if you can just sit that person in front of Tony Robbins, Jerry, something is going to click in their head, and they're gonna come back, you know, they're gonna have a different life, right? You know, so but yeah, you know, so but yeah, so event, you know, is just super important. If you listen to the if you're listening to this podcast, if you are in Jerry group, if you're in my revenue share group, you know, you want to go to event, but you know, you just can't afford it yet, let us know, right? We have a program, you know, of course there's going to be some commitment from you, but you know, allow us to help you. So yep. So that is just beautiful. But just mention a little bit about moving on to the next part, Jerry, the equity part at Real. Could you share with me a little bit about how the equity opportunity at Real work, and then I can share a little bit about eXp, so that way, you know, the audience, they have a good comparison of the two companies.
You know, I don't know.
Why not?
I really kind of forgot. I read it at one point. I will tell you, and there was actually a few things that were very off-putting when and the reason why I decided to leave Real. One of the few reasons, right, was that you know, and the same thing happened at eXp, but not to the extent that was happening as Real. But ultimately, you know, there's, at the end of the day at eXp, there were, you know, they adjusted their compensation in regards to equity at certain stages where there's a certain amount of agents. I can't remember what those milestones were, but at eXp,
I get it.
It was reduced, and you know, and that's understandable, because you had to, and their reasoning and rationale was reasonable also, because, you know, it has to be somewhat sustainable, right? I mean, when we first joined eXp, it was like 14,000 agents. When you go from 14 to 70, your, you know, financial structure has to change at least a little bit to make it sustainable. So when I was with Real, I think it was so it changed so much, which is the reason why I really don't remember.
Fantastically, yeah.
It was drastic to the point where when I was in the workplace, there was a huge revolt with it, and then the CEO actually had to come out and kind of like, okay, we're gonna keep it at the same level for now, but for now which didn't give anyone any clarity on when that was going to change. But so we went from like 3,000 to 4,000 to 5,000 to 6,000. I think they're up to 7,000 agents now. But at each milestone there was a reduction in some kind of financial incentive.
It's just so the adjustment is just so quick. Yeah.
It was really quick. So like at first I was like, wow, this is awesome. The amount of shares I was receiving, like I said, it didn't change how I operated, but it felt good, right? I know the cap at Real was $12,000, and I believe when you capped, you got $1,000, or not 1,000 shares in Real stock. So it was a number of stock versus a dollar amount, which is really big, right? I think if eXp gave someone 1,000 shares today, it'd be huge. it'll be a huge number. So I think eXp is more of a dollar value, which equated to amount of shares, while Real was like, hey, when you cap, you receive 1,000. Now I think I want to say that changed, and like I said, there was a lot of things that changed, and it was very drastic, where people were very frustrated, and then it was voiced. And even I know at eXp there's the icon agent, and then at Real they had elite agent. And I want to say that to even get elite, they made it so difficult to get the bonus that you would get for being an elite agent, which is kind of the comparable as an icon. Where I think someone did the math. They're like, wait, like if you change this structure, only like 1% of the agents, or even less than 1%, would actually even qualify for it. And people are like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Like no one's qualifying for this. Which was, I think, one of the comments that was made, that like, hey, there's only like literally less than 1% that would qualify for this bonus structure.
Yeah, I'm so glad I had this conversation, because sometimes people in our company, they kind of take the stability for granted, right? And it just takes a tremendous amount of time and effort on the back end in enable to have the stability structure for just I would say 10 years now. The sustainable equity program that we have is the same. Every 5%. This is optional, but you can contribute 5% of your commission, and then you get to buy the stock EXPI at the 10% discount. And then our icon agent program, actually 5% of our agent is qualified for icon agent, right? There's some commitment. You have to go to the company event, and you have to teach a class on the cloud, or do some activity to give back to the community, right? But it's all easy, it's all fun. But one of the things that I love the most about the eXp here, we are agile, so if we need to make a move, we can make a move. But speaking on that, on that term, right? I've been with the company for almost 5-6 years now, and the structure pretty much stay the same. It's very stable, so it's given just a lot of stability to build our business.
Right.
It's just
I mean, as far as and I'm not, you can't quote me on any of these things. Like I said, this is kind of based on feeling, based on what I remember from a while back. But there was a similar equity program in regards to you can take 5% of your commission and buy Real stock at a 10% discount also. So they did, like I said, it was very similar. A lot of the structures were very similar. But I think it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way when they started changing the equity program to where it didn't seem like you were getting that much anymore. And the move was very drastic. From like every 1,000 agents we got, it changed quite a bit.
Just like interest rate, right? You can expect to jack the interest rate from 3% to 6% and expect everything to stay the same. Something is gonna break. So moving on, to one of I guess one of the final main topic, and then we can just chit chat later. It's called the revenue share program. So do you recall the revenue share structure at Real? What is the difference when it comes to getting revenue share? And then of course I can share a little bit about here when it comes to the eXp structure.
Yeah, so as in terms of the revenue share program, the structure was very similar again. I think we're off. So depending on how you looked at it, right? So And I actually, when I joined, I actually looked at a lot of people who did comparisons between the two programs.
Mhm.
And from what I gathered was that the real revenue share program, again, they're very similar. I mean, we're talking about splitting hairs a little bit, but you got more revenue share based on the people that you recruited.
It's
But
top. Yeah.
on the next levels, so if you actually kind of grew out your whole eXp revenue, you would, for the same amount of people, eXp, you would get more revenue share from the back end people. And
Yeah.
while real was, you were more in control of your own success.
Exactly.
So
Okay.
depending on how you looked at it, so if you actually like grew out the whole tree, then you could show that like, hey, from an eXp standpoint, it would be better. But if you were talking about just about more what you could control, you would make more money. And again, it's not by a lot, but
Mhm.
you were more in control of it.
This is actually a main point, that actually, in my opinion, because like you say, the two company is almost a carbon copy of each other, right? But
Mhm.
this, I think, it's going to be a distinct difference, between Real and eXp, because if you look at it, like you say, it's very top heavy. So you're more responsible for your own success, like Jerry say. But the major difference at eXp, if you look at our pay structure, right? I'm not talking about the 7 level. I'm talking about, just level 1 and level 2. You actually get paid more on level 2, So let's say if I help Jerry attract an agent, I actually get paid more, right? To help Jerry. And this all of a sudden, it changes the dynamic, of the revenue share. Instead of me trying to help myself, the system actually incentivize me, to actually, hey, maybe, helping Jerry with his business is going to be a more profitable, a more incentivized way to grow your business. Because not only when you help Jerry, Jerry is going to be happier. He going to stay with the company more. You actually get paid more, by helping Jerry, because, let's say let's say we bring on Mindy to the company, right? When
Mhm.
Mindy close a deal, let's say the commission is $10,000. I actually get $320, and Jerry get 280. So it's all of a sudden it's incentivized me to help Jerry more instead of myself, right? And that is
Right.
leadership. It just incentivizes you to lead people and help people, and just serving more instead of working on your own business, if you will. And if you think
Mhm.
about this on a larger scale, just people helping people, and they kind of back each other up, it create a very strong bonding between all the agents. And that what you see right here is a whole community of people just trying to look for each other. I'm gonna try to look for your interest. I'm gonna try to look for everybody interest in my group. Or before thinking about my own, and that just create a different mindset in the community.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, and then I'm gonna drop the link down. You can see the detail about the two company. eXp, they go all the way down to 7 level. Versus Real, I believe, is stop at the level number 3, right? So the opportunity for you, to actually like grow as a leader is gonna be so much more at eXp Realty.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things, I think one of the big bonuses, or I would say pluses for Real, I like I said, I think they're a pretty good company too, was that they actually did not allow you to just create events and stuff for recruiting purposes.
Okay.
I think overall eXp's sometimes gonna, there's certain bad characters out there that, really don't have any production. Their whole sole purpose is to create
Yeah.
some kind of multi-level marketing company. And I think a big characteristic of like MLMs is like, oh, let's not even try to sell the product that we're in, but just try to recruit more people,
Yeah.
which is never a good thing. So you want those two kind of be tied together.
First and foremost, this is a real estate company, right? Me and
Yeah,
Jerry, we have production realtor. We sold ton of houses.
right. So I mean, like I said, they had their certain rules and things that really work well for them. Their tech stack was, like I said, very similar. I really enjoyed using their app to
Mm.
confirm my commission and stuff. So that was very beneficial.
Well, Jerry, welcome back to the welcome back to eXp. Welcome back to the big family. Man,
Mhm.
it's so good chatting with you. What else? What else we should know about you? Tell us a little bit more, other than bird watching.
Like I said, I try to find different things to cook. I think I've been smoking meats and stuff.
You've been
Uh,
smoking what?
like meat, like barbecue, like brisket,
Oh,
different
I thought
things.
so. Okay,
Yeah, smoking like for cooking.
I see.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So and then just like I'm not a doom and gloom pessimistic person. But I think as some would say, winter is coming.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you wanna set yourself up
Winter's coming.
for that situation, and just been learning a lot on different things that you gotta learn to take advantage of the market on the way up, and then you got to learn to make money with the market on the way down. Also, there's both ways to work things. So just trying to start up a couple more businesses. You
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah. So I gonna bring you back, and especially if you are out Houston, you're gonna hear
Mhm.
from Jerry a lot more. So number one, he got an amazing property management company that you should absolutely take a look at. I've been so happy to have Jerry manage, all of our investment property, and yeah, really that's it. Jerry, thank you for your time. If people want to reach out to you, what would be the best way to reach out to you?
Ah.
You have
Just-
you have Facebook, Instagram,
yeah, you can reach me out on Facebook. There you
Okay,
go.
that's good. That's good. I do want to mention one more point. Like a lot of people, like especially new agent, right? They keep like chasing chasing the new shiny object syndrome, if you will. Like social
Mhm.
media is one of the way for you to get known, right? But it doesn't have to be the only way. I have to say
Yeah.
that I actually don't see you a lot on social media. But
Mhm.
Jerry, your business has been growing. Maybe you can share a bit later, like how do you grow your business without even posting on social media, right? A guy like me, we actually pretty lazy, but we just don't know what to do other than marketing on social media. Maybe.
Well, one of the things, like I said, I'm always finding different ways, and I think you sign up for that same Google
Yeah. Oh, cool.
information, which was like didn't barely cost anything,
Uh-huh.
but it taught you quite a few things that I didn't even know, right? Having your Google page in order is actually pretty important for people can search, right? I think getting reviews on Google is
So instead
important
of like
also.
just blasting out the information, to the ocean, you actually have very specific page, with very specific keyword for people to look
Mhm.
for. So for
Yeah,
example, if you right now, if you tapping in, Houston property management, your company is gonna show up, right?
yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's just you get very quality lead by doing that to actually present yourself when people actually looking for you. You're not just
Yeah.
blasting out and wasting marketing dollar for the people who don't even have own any houses, right? They don't need to know about property management.
Right. So I
Yeah.
mean, I will tell you that when I first started, I've been in real estate for like 10 years now. And one of my big it's funny because I talked to other big time real estate investors also. And at the end of the day, nothing beats networking.
Oh
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
period. So, I joke that I don't really talk to people and get on social media and stuff, but if someone's seriously looking for a one-on-one conversation and a sharing of information, I'm very open to
Mhm.
talking to people and having I don't really do too much chit chat and stuff, but when I'm making connections and providing value to people and people provide value back. I saw this joke one time. One of my mentors, like Tim Harridge, I don't know, he's from Dallas. He's very famous, very not famous, but like within the real estate community. But he was talking about like, if you're always sharing information one way, then you basically have a child or something. So I'm very big on people sharing information back and forth, and so I do network quite a bit, and then based on I think when people talk to me, I think they understand that like, hey, I know what I'm talking about, and when I don't know something, I'm willing to say like, hey, I don't know, right? And I'm not just making up stuff. It just to sound smart or anything. So I think that's one of the big things when you network is that like, hey, provide the information you do know, something that's helpful, that's been helpful to you, that could be helpful to them. And then now that sharing of information just kind of goes back and forth. Like people are more open and sharing information that they, could that they found helpful that could be helpful for you also.
Yeah, I agree. In the days of social media and short form video, people attention, they get really short, right? And don't mistake all the posts that you actually do on social media. None of that can compensate for like a real connection, a real value conversation. With a mentor, with a friend. Nothing is gonna break a conversation over a cup of coffee or bread. So don't let social media kind of make you forget about that important factor of basic human communication and relationship.
Yeah. Hey, the next thing I plan on getting into before we get off is maybe it's time to hang up the tennis rackets and pick up pickleball. I bought a pickleball racket.
Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America right now.
I know. I haven't played yet, but apparently they drew off some tennis courts at Westside in order to play pickleball.
They do. It's actually very easy if you haven't played pickleball before. It's take you like 15-20 minutes to learn, and I think we can put up some tournament on it. People can learn very quickly. So it's so fun to do. Yeah. We'll see you at Westside later today, or maybe this week.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow. Thank you, Jerry. I'm gonna post Jerry Facebook below. So if you're interested in talking with Jerry about property management, learn more about eXp Realty, absolutely, he's gonna be the best sponsor ever. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.